Welcome to the Calcutta Race's spring meeting, the third day, Saturday 19th February 2022 race preview. The first race of the afternoon is the Portugal Cup for horses rated 1 to 26 in Class 5 to be run over a distance of 1100 meters. First up, we are looking at three runners here. Number 1, Star Justice. Number 4, Amazonia, and number 7, Sun God. Star Justice was racing in 6th spot as they took the turn and then made up late gains and finished on 3rd. Amazonia, who was racing in a forward position, was the race favourite, then pitted away and finished on 5th. And number 7, Sun God, who raced in 8th spot, did not make any further improvement, finished on 8th. The winner here was Wenching, who came up into the last 100 meters and took charge, won that race by 3 parts of a length. Next up, we got number 2, Ashwamegh. Ashwamegh has had 4 starts so far, has placed 4th in one of its starts earlier in the season in race number 50 over 1100 meters behind Paisley. In this race, Ashwamegh was travelling in 8th spot, did not make any further improvement even though was switched on the wide outside, finished on 8th of 10 runners. The winner here was Littlefinger, who won that race by a nose. Next up, we got a couple of runners. Number 3, Tiago. Tiago has had a couple of starts. First, it finished on 8th in race number 42 behind Mose. In his last start, Tiago in race number 58, the one we are looking at, was leading the pack into the last 200 meters, then rapidly fell back and finished on 5th of 13 runners. We had number 5, Marazzo, who was racing in 4th spot, also weakened and eventually finished on 8th. The winner here was Mandolin, who won that race by about 2 1/4 lengths. Number 6 is Light in the Sky. Light in the Sky had one start in the season in race number 21 where it went over 1600 meters, was leading the pack into the last 250 meters, but then when asked for an effort, Light in the Sky went backward and finished on 5th of 7 runners. The winner here was Vanguard, who took charge and won this race by about 3 1/2 lengths. We move on to the second race of the afternoon, the Philippines Cup for horses rated 21 to 46, rated 1 to 26, eligible to be run over a distance of 2,400 meters. We got a couple of runners we're looking at in race number 53, where the Indicators, the first runner coming up for preview, was racing in 8th spot, made some late gains and eventually finished on 5th. The Indicator was a little slow to start. We also had number 4, Shopify. Shopify was racing in 4th spot, did not make any further gains, finished on 4th. The winner here was Magnite, who won that race by almost 3 parts of a length. The other 2 runners ran together. That's number 2, Discover, who was a winner in his last start in race number 59, where it went on a start to finish mission and then into the last 300 meters, kicked away and won that race by a length and a 3/4. We also had number 3, Criteria. Criteria was racing the wrong end of the field, took the turn in 8th spot, then made some late gains and eventually finished on 6th of 10 runners, almost 9 lengths from the winner. We move on to the third race of the afternoon, the MB Medora Cup for horses rated 61 to 86, rated 41 to 66, eligible in Class 2 to be run over a distance of 1200 meters. We got 6 runners we are looking at in race number 70. We got Valegro, who was racing in 8th spot and eventually finished on last of 12 runners. We had number 3, Top Notch, who took the turn in 10th spot, made some late gains and eventually finished on 4th. We have number 6, which is Phoenicia Miss. Phoenicia Miss was in 6th spot, weekend and finished on 10th. We have number 7, Big Star, who raced a little wide throughout, was in 3rd spot, but then weekend and eventually finished on 11th of 12 runners. We had number 8, The Undertaker. The Undertaker was racing in 2nd spot, weekend and eventually finished on 9. And we have number 10, Pontius Pilot, who took the turn in 11th spot, made some late gains and finished on 8th of 12 runners. The winner here was Tigrio. three runners here. Number 2, Estrella Star, who was racing in 6th spot, weakened and eventually finished on 9th. We got number 4, which is Agnostic. Agnostic chased the winner home, which was Tigrio, who went on to win again. So that's a very strong form line for Agnostic. Then we got number 5, Finisher Glint. Finisher Glint, after getting the better of Black Pearl in an earlier race in his last start, led the pack but weakened and eventually finished on 8th of 11 runners. The winner was Tigrio. Number 9 is Mogul. Mogul first won in race number 15 over 1200 meters, where it was lying in 7th spot, took charge and drew away from the field. In his last start, Mogul was lying in handy second, then took charge and won that race by almost 2.5-3 lengths, beating Centurion into second. We move on to the 4th race of the afternoon, the Hong Kong Jockey Club Cup for horses 3-year-old only, to be run over a distance of 1600 meters. Couple of runners we are looking at. First, number 1, Big Brown. The run we are looking at is from race number 71, where the Big Brown took the turn in 5th spot, stayed on in 5th. And we also had number 2, Bold Style. Bold Style, who was a little slow to begin, made up the lost ground, took the turn in 4th spot, but made no further improvement, finished on 4th behind Leonardo. Couple of runners we are looking at again in race number 55. We got Hell's Blazer. Hell Blazer was in 9th spot as they entered the home straight, stayed on in 9th of 11 runners. We also had number 4, Kunal's Bagheera, who took the turn in 7th spot and eventually finished on 6th of 11 runners. The winner here was Tuscany, who won that race by almost 3 parts of a length. Next up we got number 5, Randolph. Randolph was a little slow to begin in race number 43, where it took the turn in 3rd spot, then ran out of gas and eventually finished on 2nd last of 5 runners. The winner here was Rizina Star, who won that race by a widening margin of 9 3/4 of a length. Next up we got number 6, Success. Success has had a couple of starts. First it finished on 2nd to Rizina Star, almost 10 lengths behind Rizina Star. In his last start, Success was racing in 3rd spot as they entered the home straight, but into the last 100 meters absolutely flew home and almost gave a scare to Tuscany. Lost that race by nose in a photo finish. And Success today ridden by Suraj Naredu. We move on to the 5th race of the afternoon, the Kishore Bhimani Memorial Cup for horses rated 21 to 46, rated 1 to 26, to be run over a distance of 1200 meters. The first runner we are looking at is number 1, Whispering Grass. Has had a couple of starts. First it finished on 4th behind Dundee Satyagraha over 1200 meters. In his last start, where it went up over 1100 meters, was travelling in 2nd spot, but they made no further improvement, finished on 2nd behind Legendary Striker. Couple of runners we're looking at is number 2, Script. Script was a little slow to get out of the gates, took the turn in 9th spot and eventually finished on 8th of 10 runners. We had number 3, Shivalik Silk. Shivalik Silk ran a little wide throughout and eventually took the turn in 7th spot and came out and finished on 5th. The winner here was the Flying Eagle, who won that race by almost 2 1/4 lengths. Number 4 is Aggression. 3 starts for Aggression so far. First it finished on 11th of 12 runners in race number 26, and his next start it finished on 5th in race number 44 behind ASOS. In his last start, Aggression was travelling in 6th spot, then weakened and finished on 9th of 10 runners. The winner here was Little Finger. Number 5 is Castillo. Castillo first finished on third behind the Flying Eagle in race number 66 in his last start. Castillo fought on with wenching into the last 100 meters. Then Castillo had to settle for second spot as wenching grew stronger and fell short by 3 parts of a length. Number 6 is Berluti. Berluti has had couple of starts and first it finished on 9th in race number 28. In his last start, Berluti took the turn in 4th spot and then weakened and finished on 8th of 8 runners. It was noted after the race that Berluti was trotting lame. The winner here was Forevermore. Number 7 is Devyushka. Devyushka was installed the favourite in race number 49. The one we are looking at went on a start to finish mission, as you can see on the left of your picture, but then into the last 150 meters surrendered the lead and eventually finished on second to Cape Norris, almost 4 lengths from the winner. Next up we got number 8, Unstoppable. Unstoppable has had 6 starts so far. Its best start was in race number 8 where it finished on second behind Adorinda over 1600 meters. In subsequent starts, Unstoppable failed to place. In his last start, Unstoppable was travelling in 7th spot as they entered the home straight, eventually finished on 5th. The winner here was Discover, who won that race by almost length and 3/4. We move on to the 6th race of the afternoon, the Malaysia Cup for horses rated 41 to 66, rated 21 to 46, eligible to be run over a distance of 1600 meters. The first runner we are looking at is number 1, Eastern Crown. Eastern Crown has had 3 starts. First is finished on 8th in race number 16 behind Agrami. In his next start, it finished on 3rd behind Nova. And his last start, Eastern Crown was travelling in second last spot as they entered the home straight, made some late gains and eventually finished on second behind 3rd Avenue, almost 5.5 lengths from the winner. Next up we got number 2, Adonica. Adonica in race number 22 was travelling in 6th spot as they entered the home straight, but then came up with a run and won that race by a long neck, beating Creation of God over 1400 meters was this race, today going over 1600 meters. Couple of runners we are looking at is number 3, Centurion. Centurion was a winner in race number 48 where it got the measure of late finishing wind chase, and his last start Centurion was travelling in 5th spot, then made some lead gains but had no impression on the winner, which was Mogul, who won that race by almost 2.25 lengths. We have number 7, which is Properly Posh. Properly Posh finished on second in earlier start in race number 50 behind Paisley, and his last start Properly Posh was travelling in 3rd spot, then weakened and eventually finished on 6th of 10 runners. Number 4 is Basharat. The run we are looking at is from race number 37. After placing second couple of times, Basharat finally got his number 1 board. In his last start, she was travelling in 5th spot. Then into the last 200 meters, took charge and burst out of the pack. Won that race by almost 7 lengths, beating Ansegar. We got number 5, Ailani, who's been very consistent. In his last start, Ailani in race number 33 where it went over 1600 meters, it was racing in 3rd spot but weaved the passage towards the inside and got the inside run and finally got stronger towards the last 100 meters and won that race by about half a length, beating the Night Mysore. Number 6 is Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch has had 3 starts so far. It placed in first start it had of the season in race number 33 behind Ailani. Subsequently, it went over 2000 meters in next start where it finished on 6th of 7 runners. In his last start, Scarlet Witch was travelling in 3rd spot over 1100 meters behind Legendary Striker and eventually finished on 6th of 9 runners, almost 7 lengths from the winner. Next, we got number 8, Cape Tenoris. Cape Tenoris was a winner in his first start in race number 49, where it won that race by a very impressive fashion over 1200 meters. In his last start, Cape Tenoris looked a little flat-footed as they entered the home straight. When asked for an effort, didn't really accelerate and eventually finished on 4th. The winner here was Discover. We move on to the 7th race of the afternoon, the Queen Elizabeth II Cup Grade 3 for horses 4-year-old and over. The feature race of the afternoon to be run over a distance of 2,800 meters. We are looking at race number 64, where 4 of these runners went up against each other, but the pick of the pack was Parisian, who came down from Western India. And Parisian absolutely toyed with this field, beating them by almost 6 lengths after travelling in second last spot. We had number 3 Shivans, who got into form but over lesser distance into the earlier part of the season. In his last start, Shivans tried to shock them by taking charge into the home straight, but then faded out and finished on 5th. We had number 5, which is Rainbow Trout. Rainbow Trout punched above its weight and finished on 3rd in this race. And we had number 6, Tudor Hall, who was racing in the wrong end of the field and made some late gains and eventually finished on 4th. Number 2 is Redoubtable. Redoubtable had a lung opener in race number 38 over 2000 meters behind Justified in its next start, where it went over 2200 meters. Redoubtable went on a start to finish mission into the home straight. It kicked away, won that race as it likes by almost 9 3/4 of a length, beating Renault Star. Couple of runners coming up for scrutiny. Number 4 is Cliffhanger. Cliffhanger in race number 60, where it went over 2,400 meters. The first time it went over such a trip in his life, and Cliffhanger gave very good account of himself, where it was travelling in 3rd spot, then took charge and won that race in a thundering fashion. Number 7 is Roaring Tiger. Roaring Tiger ran in the end of the field and finished on last of 5 runners and did not have any impression on this race. We move on to the 8th race of the afternoon, the Ranjit Singh Roy Memorial Metropolitan for horses rated 95 and above in Class 1 to be run over a distance of 1200 meters. We got 5 runners who went up against each other in race number 72. Awesome One definitely was the pick of the pack, was racing in 5th spot, then took charge and won that race by almost 3 parts of a length. We had number 2 Soaring High, who was racing in 2nd spot and eventually finished on 2nd. We had number 3 Prince Satsuma, who took the turn in 4th spot, made up a place and finished on 3rd. We had number 6 Sitada, who was leading the pack, then weakened and finished on 5th. We had number 7 Dandi Satyagraha, after reeling off 3 wins in a row in his last start. Dandi Satyagraha had an off day and finished on 4th. Number 4 is St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg was a winner in race number 23, where it got the measure of Tudor Hall by almost 3 parts of a length. In his last start, St. Petersburg was racing in 3rd spot. When asked for an effort, fell back and finished on 2nd last. The winner here was Awesome One. It was reported by the vets that St. Petersburg had burst its blood vessels. Number 5 is Areka Legend. Areka Legend in race number 40 was travelling in 2nd spot and chased the winner home all the way and eventually finished on 2nd, almost 3 lengths from the winner, which was Sitara. We move on to the 9th race of the afternoon, the Ocean and Beyond Handicap for horses rated 21 to 46, rated 1 to 26, eligible to be run over a distance of 1400 meters. The first runner we are looking at is Lamarck. Lamarck has had 3 starts so far. It finished on 5th in race number 29 behind The Undertaker. In his next start, it again finished on 5th. In his last start, it was racing in 10th spot, did not make any much improvement, finished on 9th of 11 runners. The winner here was Delphine, who won that race by almost length and a half. Number 2 is Namiki. Namiki has had 3 starts. It placed in his first start behind Mogul, where it went over 1200 meters in race number 15. And in his last start, Namiki was racing in 5th spot as they entered the home straight, made some late gains as Namiki, and eventually got into the place money, finished on 3rd behind Santana. Couple of runners we're looking at. Number 3, Apna Time Aayega in his last start in race number 59 was racing in 5th spot. When asked for an effort, Apna Time Aayega didn't have much to offer. Weekend and finished on 7th. Number 6, Wandering Angel, who raced a little wide into the race, was in 3rd spot. Then Weekend and finished on 2nd last of 10 runners. The winner here was Discover, who won that race almost by a length and 3/4. Number 4 is Adorinda. Adorinda was winner of his first start of the season in race number 8, where it got the measure of unstoppable over 1200 meters. In his last start, Adorinda was racing in 2nd spot, as you can see, towards the inside, then Weekend, and eventually finished on 4th of 6 runners. The winner here was ASOS, who won that race by almost 2 1/4 lengths. Next up, we got 2 runners. Number 5 is Mr. Batola Baz. Mr. Batola Baz was racing in 4th spot. Looked good for a while, even though it took the turn very wide into the race, but then finished on 4th. Then we had number 7, Indian Star. Indian Star was a little tardy out of the gates, and then was in 9th spot as they entered the home straight. Made up a couple of places and finished on 7th of 10 runners. The winner here was Littlefinger, who got that race by a nose. Lastly, we got number 8, Act of Magic. Had a run in race number 27, where it was travelling in 7th spot as they entered the home straight, and weakened further and finished on 8th of 8 runners. The winner here was Nandini's Pet, who won that race by almost 2 1/2 lengths. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. See you at the races on all our YouTube channel.